Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October 1st edition of the TetraCast. My name is Zach Reese. I am the host. Joining us today is Adam Vitali.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it been? What have you been up to?
What I've been hockey season starts today, and I'm missing the first Blackhawk game thanks to you guys.
Oh, gosh. What team are you rooting for? I don't know.
Blackhawks.
I don't know any of
the Stanley Cup champs.
Of course, Chicago Blackhawks.
Wait, what's hockey?
What's hockey? I'm going to punch you.
I thought it was a sport for Canadians.
I do know one thing. Is it the Sacramento Kings? I think Shaquille O'Neal just bought them. I think that's what I just found out.
Or that might sound sort of familiar. I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking sports on an RPG podcast. Well, that's what we do.
Wait, how popular is hockey? Because I didn't think popular. I didn't think hockey was popular where you lived, Adam.
It's like 8.
I don't know. I've always been a big hockey fan ever since. Here's the segue. Since my uncle bought me like EA NHL like '96 for PC or something, and I don't know. I didn't really have many games at that point, so I played the heck out of that and got familiar with the teams and whatnot. And then soon after that, I became kind of a follower of it.
The golden age where sports games were actually good because every other games were sort of shit.
Hey, actually, the NHL games have been pretty decent. Since like 2009 or 10, it was a big upgrade, and it's kind of stagnant from there, perhaps. But
I remember, 1 year GameSpot gave it like a Game of the Year nominee because NHL was so good that year.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey. That was the best hockey game I've ever.
I can't stand hockey, mostly because I can't stand guys bashing into each other.
What?
On ice.
What? What are you talking about? Why would you be upset about that? That's like the only reason a lot of people watch those sports in the first place.
I don't know. Something about ice just scares the crap out of me.
Okay, some weird water phobia that you have going on there. Okay. All right, and then also, of course, Simon Chun.
What's up?
Nice. What's up? I heard you were playing some League of Legends earlier.
Yeah, I was screaming, yes, yes, no, yes, like back and forth because that's what I do.
Yeah, it's the running commentary of a game that takes like an hour to beat.
Actually, League of Legends has like 3 different game modes, and like they vary in length. I was playing a game called All Random, All Mid, which is like 5 champions in one lane trying to kill each other. So it was pretty fun. I like League of Legends a lot. I've probably put more time into League of Legends than any other game that I've played this generation combined.
Oh, wow.
I played a lot of League of Legends. Like, that's... Whenever I come back home, I probably play League of Legends and probably play something else.
Have you spent any money on that game? I know that's kind of the big thing about that. Like, you bought characters.
I think I've spent, I haven't spent as much as everyone else has. I think roughly it tallies up to about $100, I think, which isn't a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, I know a couple of friends who've spent, around $1,000 already,
That's, okay, so... Of course, you can buy characters and items in that game, but do you need to do that to enjoy that game?
No. The game is fully enjoyable, free to play. It's not pay to win or anything. The only reason you would spend money is to level up faster to reach max level, or to buy skins, which are just pure aesthetic.
I do know that the guys behind that game are pretty much they're rolling in the money right now. They're probably one of the biggest companies right now.
So rich. They are cashing in that dough. There's a reason why the finals for this year, for Season 3, is being held in the Staples Center. There's a reason.
Oh, my God.
This is the biggest game in the world right now. Actually, I'm pretty sure League of Legends is the reason why every other game is trying to follow, some sort of, microtransaction model right now.
It's probably, that's probably why a lot of them are following it. That and Dota pretty much going head-to-head as far as mobile games are concerned. And you're going to see a lot more I know they're putting out, the DC, isn't DC Universe putting one out? Or is it, what was that?
I know Blizzard is going to pump one out soon. I know, a lot of people are trying to tap into that market, but the thing is, the people who made Dota 2 and League, they're from, the same group who created the original Dota, so,
the people who made League of Legends, of course, were from they made the Warcraft mod.
Yeah, so, there's a very deep understanding of, the genre's design and the game's design itself. So, I don't think any other game will have that level of depth. I don't think any game will catch up to the popularity of League of Legends. I think Dota 2 even, people, despite, it being promoted by Steam, a lot of people playing it, League of Legends eclipses Dota 2. Pretty...
It kind of reminds me of that. It's like Blizzard when it comes to MMOs, but League of Legends for the MOBA it's going to be like a lot of hard work to catch up to them, and they're not going to make nearly as much money as they are right now. And a lot of it is that it's from like this small team that came together and made this game, and now they're like probably multi-millionaires to say the least on that.
It's fun. I've spent a lot of time with it. The barrier to entry is high, but I highly recommend everyone play it. You'll rage quit a lot, but you'll come back a lot too. So
I'm being serious. I think I'm afraid to play it because I know how addictive it can be just from people's accounts of it. So I don't want to sink time into it. No.
I wouldn't say it's so much as an addiction. There's a level of coming back and like that sense of camaraderie. You're like, yeah, it's like finally won this damn team fight or something stupid. Like it's very like it has the quirks of what makes video games fulfilling, like all in a single package. And the thing is, like, it's repeated over and over and over because you're playing multiple games that bring that same experience.
Yeah, the only experience I got is when I played some Dota recently, and that's pretty much all I got in was that, okay, I've been watching these guys play it, and now I like on Twitch and stuff like that, and then I tried playing it. The thing is like it looks simple when you watch it, but when you get into it, it's so complex, and there's so many characters, and trying to understand like any of the intricacies, it's really complicated, and I don't like it. I didn't like playing it. I like watching it. I don't like playing it.
I would say the first, I want to say about 70, 100 hours I put into it, I did not like the game. Because I was playing it by myself. I was playing by myself. The thing is, like, if you have someone there teaching you, helping you learn and play through the game, going through that, like, it's like I guess I'm tainting the word of the tainting military tradition, but it's like that sense, like I said, sense of camaraderie, like that teamwork that you bond and stuff like that. This sounds really weird. Sorry.
Well, I would assume the only reason you would keep playing that game is if you found some friends to play it.
Yeah, I don't think I could play without like other people being interested in this. So, yeah.
All right, and then, of course, joining us also, David Kreinberg.
Yeah, what's up?
How's it going with you? I know you've been moving lately.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, trying to move into a new house. I've been seeing you posting pictures about that place.
Yep.
Is that pretty much been taking up all your time?
That, getting stuff for the novel I'm about to publish.
Oh, my gosh, no way. Really?
Playing a lot.
Working on a novel.
Yeah, what's it about?
It's about a serial killer that can stop time.
Oh, wait. This sounds like JoJo for some reason.
It's got a stand?
Wait.
He could probably be a pretty
when I let
successful...
someone read it, they said, this is fucking JoJo inspired. And I'm like, it is, but not like really, but not...
It's a novel.
Yeah, it's a novel. It's actually not really that like JoJo, other than like that ability.
Bust out of jail.
But yeah. What else am I doing? I'm playing a lot of games. I
heard you beat Xillia too. I mean, I heard you recently beat Exilia.
I did recently beat Exilia. It was a good game, and it was fun. And the final boss was a pain in the ass.
How long did it take you? Because when I beat the Japanese one, the final boss took me an hour and 15 minutes.
I think probably around that amount of time.
I think Star 4.
It will take you a freaking long ass time.
I died once, like 40 minutes in. I know that.
Wow,
that would be so frustrating.
I've had that multiple times in the Japanese. I'm like, fuck this.
Oh my god, why would you put yourself through that again?
Because I wanted to beat it. I put 50
10 minutes feels like a long time.
Like, my fingers hurt after beating it. Like, my fingers are numb.
And there's no save anywhere near the final boss.
Wow, so it's classic, traditional RPG then.
It's like...
Without the boss rush.
Like, the last save is like an hour and a half away from the final boss.
Gosh.
But yeah, it was annoying, but I liked the game. It was good.
Who's your favorite character?
Probably Alvin.
Yeah, honestly. My man.
After a certain scene on Jude's side, I was like, wow, that's really heavy.
I don't think there's a scene like it in Tales games, like a scene quite like it, at least in Destiny.
Well, do you know what scene I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's on Jude's side, right? It's the Jude exclusive cutscene with Alvin. Yeah, I know.
Yep. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something I expected to see from a Tales game.
Yeah, there's more stuff like that in Exilia too.
Yeah, I from Exilia I've heard that I haven't played it yet, but I mean I hope to get around to it.
And you play garbage like Neptunia.
Hey, I like Neptunia. I did beat Victory finally this month.
Oh, nice.
That's for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, but
than I am.
from Exilio, I've heard that it's way more like this game is more adult than the ones in the past. I mean, you're going off of things like Tales of the Abyss, like a whiny prince turned into something more.
Yeah, I thought the theme for Abyss was pretty mature though.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to go all existential with shit, but
I think it was like veiled maturity, because I mean,
it started really
it is
poorly and got a lot better.
It goes into the idea of like the meaning of like one's existence. So, I mean, like I don't know.
yeah, but I mean, it's like
Complex.
It just has such a weird way of portraying things in it that I don't know.
It didn't have to have shitty characters, you know.
It took me like halfway through the game to start liking the characters in Tales of the Abyss, but I guess I don't know.
Luke was the only character I liked at the beginning.
Adam pretty sure feels differently about that one.
That's okay. Luke, I can understand. Yeah,
because he's the only one with any compassion for human life. Every
true.
And he never loses that, even when he's like killing a bunch of people, while everyone else has lost that. They're all fucking mass murdering assholes.
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
This is
Really? I thought you were one of the people who hated Luke, or maybe I was getting that confused with someone else.
No, I basically thought Luke was better when he was kind of a spoiled, you know.
No, the guy's a spoiled douche, but at least he like understands the value of human life.
But yeah, sometimes just sometimes I see comments saying like, "Oh, the character growth of Luke is some of the best ever," and it's like, no, totally gets worse and worse and becomes whinier and whinier about everything.
He becomes an apologist. Well, I mean, not apologist in the sense of defending himself. Like apologist isn't like literally apologizing for every little shit he does.
Well, okay, so I actually wanted to get our new guest joining us today, who is a new member of our staff, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Hello. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, so I'm deeply sorry.
Don't worry, it's Henges.
Henges.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that, but I was like, what if it's because I messed up Adam's last name before, so I didn't want to...
Zach's really bad with last
Did you mess up mine?
I think Vital.
He has a hard time pronouncing his own last name.
Hey,
It's like, is it Reese or Race or is that even an R? Like,
got a speech impediment. My R's, I can't say them.
Good going, Simon.
But Elizabeth, I know you've been playing. Like, I heard you've been playing some Tales games recently. What do you think about? Have you played Abyss?
Yeah, I have played Abyss and beaten it. It's personally my favorite Tales game, but I've recently been playing Tales of Destiny, and that might change my opinion a bit.
I really want to go back and play those games because I played a good chunk of Destiny, and that was when they first started doing that whole. Well, the series, the first one to do the whole like side-scrolling control.
I really need to play the PS1 games. I didn't get into the series until Symphonia, and now the PS1 games are just expensive and hard to obtain.
Play Destiny Remake on the PlayStation 2. That's the one you need to play.
You gotta import it. But so. What do you think about the characters in Abyss, though, Elizabeth?
The characters, it's kind of hard to say. I felt that some of them, I kind of liked the Luke's growth as compared to you guys, but I do feel that
Sorry about that.
It's no problem. But I do feel that like other characters were really lacking, like pretty much everyone else except for Luke and Guy. But
Luke, I think Luke's got a lot of love in this room right now. I guess, starting off.
Relatively high. I don't have the Tales thing up. I'm pretty sure it's relatively high on like the character votes, right?
Luke?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Luke's like relatively up there.
Yeah, probably.
With like, I have no idea
Well,
what you're talking about.
if you're talking about those Japanese like Tales Festival votes or whatever, Asvel's up there too, and that basically just invalidates.
Oh my
well, Asvel's up there because of his voice actor. All right.
Really?
Sakurai is a beastly man as a voice actor.
Okay, and the Japanese. Okay, that's true. We're talking about okay. Oh god, that voice acting in the English. He's like the most bored out of his mind. I was like, what am I even watching?
It's the same voice actor as Zidane, which is really weird because I liked Zidane's voice in Dissidia a lot, but he sounds like complete shit in Grace's.
like the kid voices in Grace's.
Everyone else.
And then became adults, and it's like, wow, did you guys just like take a long nap and just woke up or something? What's going on?
It sounds. I mean, it didn't help that the lip syncing was terrible too in Grace's. Like, Richard would like pause after every third word because I'm like, this is really shitty lip sync. Like they didn't even bother to change it. They're like, okay, we're gonna have to write a script that fits around this. Here's some awkward English dialogue. Like the script is already bad. They just made it worse by voice acting and crappy like direction.
I'm just like, I only played Graces because I like Sharia. That's really all I cared about that game. To be honest, I like Sharia. She was my favorite.
Yeah, she's all right.
No one likes Sharia at all, but I like Sharia in that game. That's probably the only reason. That and the combat was really good.
She's Laura Bailey. I can respect that.
No more Laura Bailey, please.
Laura Bailey is all over the place. More of her, please. I like.
I absolutely despised her in Persona 4 Golden. Like I could not stand her.
That's because you're a jerk.
Well,
she was the new.
Also,
that's probably why.
was the worst Persona character. So
this is true. This is very true.
That Rize and then Persona 4 Golden. It was like, oh gosh, yeah.
Rize and Mari are the worst characters in that game. Like
I didn't like the new GA either.
Like people diss on like Dojima being bad. No, Dojima's just a dick. Rize and Mari are dicks and sounds like shit. At least Dojima sounds cool.
Wait, so people are talking trash about Dojima that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, what's wrong with Dojima? What's wrong with any of the
terrible father. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he does treat.
She's a terrible father.
Just like leaving her alone all the time. Like
to actually substantiate my statement there, I just think that whole idol culture thing that Rize had going for her. That we don't really have that type of culture in the West, and so it's hard to really feel for her struggles or any of that. So
yeah.
Unless you
we have idols in the West. It's just that most of them turned into drug addicts and just fall out.
If you take everything on the face,
or turn into prostitutes. I mean, and that's like the story in life and story of every almost Disney actor, right? Who becomes idols. They're like, maybe I should stop taking jabs at Miley Cyrus.
No, it's fine. It's okay. We'll talk about more when we do our next podcast about the MTV Music Awards. So we'll be okay.
I recently found out that stands for music television.
You just found that out? What did you think it was?
No, dude, I am like naive and I'm like, I don't know.
You're a fucking idiot.
It's been around for 30 years. This is the guy who thought Titanic was a movie.
I was just going to mention how Simon thought Titanic wasn't based on real events.
I just thought it was a movie.
Simon, you also don't know who Pol Pot is.
Okay. All right, dude. I
don't even think that is actually, so I don't think.
All of the things that matter and that actually pertain and are relevant.
I agree with you, but it's still funny.
Man, people still get on my ass for that shit. Both the Titanic and the Pol Pot one. Those are the definitely probed one.
We were there when it happened. It was the most amazing moment. Okay.
Move on to news.
All right. God, we've been playing games. I want to know about what you guys been playing because I didn't really. Simon, I see what you were playing. It seems like a lot of League of Legends, David. But Adam, what have you been playing?
101.
Wonderful 101?
Yeah.
Wasn't very.
What?
I didn't think that game was too hot.
Hey, it is amazing.
What did you think about it? Well, I know it's from the guy Platinum.
Yeah, it's from Kamiya, and I am absolutely loving it. It is one of the most varied action games of all time, I think.
I've heard that like halfway through the game, it goes way over the top.
Oh, it's over the top from the beginning.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. The concept is outrageous. I don't think like the gameplay itself is all that exceptional.
I think it has a learning curve, like more than most Kamiya games do. Because you have to like juggle a bunch of different things. You got to understand what you're doing. You have to like.
I heard a lot of it is that you're supposed to draw on the tablet like the way you want.
You don't have to. Yeah,
you can just use the right stick.
But I heard it's like faster because there's like moments where there's like split-second decisions you have to make. But I heard that works with a button, but then when you're doing other things, it works.
I've just been using the stick the whole time, and it's worked fine. So I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm loving it. It might be in like my top 4 or 3 game of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
So what else are you competing with when that list comes out?
My game of the year has not changed.
Fire Emblem, actually Danganronpa, even though that didn't come out this year, but it counts because of the translation patch.
We'll count that, yeah, right? It's going to be on the list.
What else? Animal Crossing, maybe? I don't know. I put a lot of hours into that, but then I got bored, like I always do.
Is that basically been your month there? Is Wonderful 101 and Animal Crossing?
No, this month, Wonderful 101, Tales of Exilia. I still have to start Killer is Dead.
I'm sorry.
When that game comes soon to like the PC or something like that, I like to play that.
I've got like 30 Steam games I have to play, but I can't remember which ones.
The life and backstory of all Steam owners.
Yep.
Yeah, it's after the Steam Summer Sale. I have like 20 more games that I put on my backlog.
I actually didn't buy anything during the Steam Summer Sale.
I bought those bundles, like the Hitman bundle I bought finally, but that's about it.
Phoenix Wright is later this month.
Dual Destinies.
Yep.
They put out the demo for that today.
I did. I played it. It's fun.
It's good.
What else? Pokemon 2. That's right.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for Pokemon.
The second one? The sequel? The second game in the series?
No. Yeah.
Well, you know, when Mommy Pokemon gets together with Daddy Pokemon, they make Pokemon XY.
Shut the fuck up.
XY Chromosome.
Pokemon
XX.
Pokemon
Okay, those legendaries look dumb as shit.
You think like the Mega Venusaur, whatever it's called?
Okay, that looks like they thought like 2 rocket launchers on Blastoise's back. No, not good enough, guys. Not good enough. We have to go one rocket launcher.
So angry. Why?
We have to go 1 rocket launcher and 2 machine guns on his arm. I don't know this shit.
I see no problem with that.
Pokemon is probably, it may be the largest October release, and there's probably, I don't know what competition
I think it'll be the biggest release for this year. The only thing that'll top it is Call of Duty.
What about GTA 5?
Battlefield 4
I forgot GTA. Well, I said remainder of the year.
Oh, remainder.
I'm excited for Battlefield 4. I'll talk about it. No, I'll talk about it. But yeah, I don't know what else is coming out this month, so maybe Pokemon is the biggest one, isn't it?
Rain is coming out 40 minutes ago, I think.
Is that Heavy Rain?
No, Rain, the PSN game.
That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke.
From Camp.
Oh, that's right. Beyond Two Sods. Souls.
Sods?
Yeah, Beyond Two Sods. Souls. This is the one with Ellen face.
Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. That's those guys.
And apparently that game has cut content in all regions.
But they said it was like 5 or 10 seconds. It was only because they needed to get 16 rating board. I think the 16 plus.
Did something
ratings.
different get cut in each region? Because that would be funny.
Yeah, that would be funny.
It was something like nudity.
Well, it's David Cage. Like you have to buy them all to connect the story. It's like, what is this?
Wait, what were you saying, Adam?
It was something like some nudity was cut in the North American release, and then something violent was cut in the European release, or something.
You know,
like that.
So I'm right. So it actually is. Okay.
That is funny because Heavy Rain had nudity, but they didn't. Wait, is this a T-rated game?
It's
I think it's why the fuck do they care about it?
They couldn't put it on the shelves if they had an 18 plus rating. I think it was.
What?
It was
All games are 18 plus.
What? It's 17 plus when it's M rated.
Yes.
Because you know that 1 year makes all the difference. Of course.
It would have gotten an AO rating.
Well, no, not here. We're talking about Europe.
Oh, I'm talking about here. Like, why'd they remove the nudity for the U.S.?
I think it's. I don't know. Maybe it's
nudity in Heavy Rain. We saw.
Because there's like kid soldiers in Beyond Two Souls, so there couldn't be like they couldn't care.
Yeah, whatever.
If there's a little bit of nudity in that game, I don't know. I think maybe it's. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe there was like some big box retailer put up a fight.
Yeah, Beyond Two Souls is M, so I don't know.
Yeah,
that's weird.
So, all right. Well, anyway, Liz. So, what else have you been playing? I know I brought up Tales, but what games have you been playing lately?
Well, I finally beat Fire Emblem Awakening a little earlier this week, and
Nice.
Ooh.
other than that, I've been working on A-Train Odyssey 4. I'm a little behind the times.
Are you big into the dungeon crawlers? I'm a huge fan of those.
Actually, A-Train Odyssey 4 is the first dungeon crawl I've really tried, and it's pretty fun. I'm probably going to get Untold when I'm finished with 4.
Oh yeah, that's coming out. Is that
came out today?
Today? Yeah, that came out today.
Yeah.
It's a big day for RPGs.
Wait. When you hear this podcast, it will not be today.
Oh,
I'm posting this today. We'll get it up today. It's gonna be late night. It's gonna be really bad though. It's gonna be like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Etrian
Some
Odyssey,
Red Bull, you'll be fine.
Yeah, Etrian Odyssey is like one of those series that I really want to try out. It seems like everything I like about dungeon crawlers, which is I really like dungeon crawlers. I just haven't tried it yet. I mean, not for any good reason.
I'm the opposite. I hate dungeon crawlers, and I also hate Etrian Odyssey.
Well, I mean, it is a dungeon crawler, so
Don't chime in.
Which is really funny because I love Persona and I love Shin Megami Tensei, and they're sort of dungeon crawly-esque.
They're definitely.
Persona
maybe like
has
the
a much
first
stronger
one.
characters.
They're kind of outliers.
Dungeon crawlers.
Well, I've heard Etrian Odyssey is that the story is really dark. Like I think you're like performing genocide on a town in like one of the first games or something. It's really messed up. Like I'm trying to remember what was going on, but I think with Etrian Odyssey 4, I think the thing I'm most interested in is like the soundtrack, because the music coming out of that game sounds pretty good.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Best music ever.
Like the battle music, the town music.
Bunch of saxophone.
Yeah, well
Wait, what?
Well, the same guy did the music for Time and Eternity, and that was pretty much the best part of that game was the soundtrack. So
That was the only good thing about that game.
I think that Etrian Odyssey 4 is probably the game that I most would want to play if I got a 3DS.
Really?
Sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm big into dungeon crawlers myself. Like, I spent untold number of hours playing, like, A Legend of Grimrock and stuff like that, so I'd love to try that. So how long are you into that game, Liz? Did you beat it, or?
I haven't beaten Etrian Odyssey 4 yet. I think I'm about 30 hours in. I think I'm about halfway through.
Long.
Dungeon crawlers can be pretty long. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Especially
lot.
if you like really take your time, because you can just grind your characters to huge amounts of strength in that game, in those types of games.
Yeah, there's a ton to explore too. So.
Draw the maps, like all the maps.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the biggest things. Like, you'll unlock stuff if you get bigger parts of the map.
Handheld dungeon crawler games as well as strategy RPGs are never good for my health, because because what happens is I play them, in my bed before I go to sleep, and then I just end up staying up playing them for like hours on end.
Yeah, I played Class of Heroes 2. I covered that game earlier this year, and that was the same experience. Like, it was like you kind of get like this really strong connection to your party, even if like they're all created characters. You have developed this bond with them that's like kind of until I think that's what I get from like a lot of those types of games, is that I find this character that I really get strong with. It's mostly because like if you really build them up and become super powerful with them, like you develop this connection with them. Like, yeah, this is my tank. This guy's just killing everyone.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I totally agree.
So, all right, so you beat Fire Emblem playing Etrian Odyssey. Anything else?
I did start playing Disgaea D2, but I don't really have many thoughts on that yet. I've only gotten to episode 4, so.
Another series I need to get into.
Yes, I actually am covering that game for the site, but I want to kind of get through you guys first before I start talking about that, of course. So, Adam, what have you been playing?
This month, early in the month, I was playing Wild Arms 3. I'm going through that series for the first time.
Yes.
Yes.
Arms.
Yeah, it's the Wild Arms games were pretty fun. I think the second game was a little bit too talky in terms of dialogue.
Yeah.
It had a really awkward localization, and it emphasized like weird words in the text, like with these like I forget what it was, like underlines or quotes, and it did it like in every other sentence, and it was a little bit annoying. But anyways, I think the games are really fun, and they're pretty I guess typical when it comes to like RPGs, Japanese RPGs.
Yeah,
especially. They are a little bit older now, especially the first two. So I was in the middle of the third one, just starting it, and then when Kingdom Hearts the remaster came out in the middle of the month, I basically put my Wild Arms playthrough on suspension. I suspended that and went through the Kingdom Hearts games. I'm still going through. I beat the Kingdom Hearts, and now I'm going through Chain of Memories included. So.
See, I never touched those games. The only one I touched was the main Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Birth by Sleep. Was that what's Chain of Memories like?
Chain of Memories, it's a little bit of a
it's the card game, isn't
it? Yeah, it's kind of like a mix between a sort of it's not really a dungeon crawler, but it is like the rooms are randomly generated that you create with cards, and you use a card-based battle system to ascend through these floors in this castle.
Dungeon Crawler. I'm interested.
It's pretty good. It's personally it's my second favorite Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah, it seems like people either love or hate the card battle system. I actually quite like it because it gives you a bit more freedom in building, your abilities and what type of abilities you want to use in certain battles, and this gives you a little bit more freedom to mess with these mechanics and see what works and what doesn't. Whereas in the other Kingdom Hearts games, a lot of it is just
straight.
A little bit more, I don't want to say button mashy, but they kind of are a little bit button mashy.
Yes,
button mashy.
They totally are.
Totally.
That's fine.
Where because those are more action RPGs. Where reaching at memories is you kind of have to take things slower with your cards and make sure that you get your cards lined up how you want. And whatnot.
It's also a little random though.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
There's like a lot of random factors in battle, like depending on where your cards are at.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you
like
set up the deck. That's why you set up the. Well, I guess that's a problem in Riku's playthrough, but not so much problem in Sora's.
I don't really remember that much about it.
I think it's that in the Kingdom Hearts games, of course, people don't really have to think too much. They just kind of experience the story. But in Return to Memories, it sounds like it's way more about it's more like a puzzle strategy game kind of thing. Is that what it's like?
Yeah,
no, it's pretty action oriented. I would say it's the exact same thing as Kingdom Hearts. Except
really?
The action, the battle.
In my head, I got Phantasy Star Online 3 in my head.
It's still an action RPG.
Episode
Your attacks are dictated by a resource. Which are cards.
It's basically Bot and Kaidos mixed with Kingdom Hearts.
It's not Card Revolution, Fantasy Star Episode 3, Card Revolution.
Anyways, actually, what I wanted to say about it is the thing that I appreciate most about this remaster is not the final mix content, which is news to the North American audience. It's just like a couple of weapons and a boss and things like that. So not a whole lot. But the thing I actually appreciated most, and it's not the HD graphics either, is the difficulty of the Proud mode is actually bumped up a little bit from.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I mean, that was kind of always my biggest criticism of the Kingdom Hearts games is they're too darn easy. And Proud mode.
That's true.
I mean,
like the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 is just basically, hey, hit triangle a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I would say Proud mode even on the bottom mix version isn't that hard though.
Yeah, it's not. I was just about to say it's not like it's exceptionally difficult in terms of there are many other games that are much more difficult, of course. Yeah. But it was enough that I really appreciated a little bump in difficulty, especially early on in the game before you get some abilities, and it was. I think it actually made the game a lot better in my eyes.
What boss did you have most trouble with in the beginning?
What I like to go to the Olympus Coliseum, which is the Disney Hercules world, and take on Cerberus, three-headed dog, from early on, and that boss is always a bit tricky.
Really?
I think partially because I like to tackle him before Wonderland, which Wonderland is an easier world.
I actually haven't beaten a big, but the boss I had most trouble with, the most deaths, and this is I think I died to this boss about 30 times. It was guard armor. Every boss after that was a piece of cake for me. It was extremely easy.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised by how hard guard armor was.
Well, yeah, early on in the game, you don't have a lot of HP, and you have a basic key, but you can't heal. You can only heal with potions, so you don't have a healing spell yet, and so on. Yeah. So, and of course, in Proud mode, Donald and Goofy are practically useless most of the time.
Well, they're even more useless.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say. AI is terrible in those games.
Mm-hmm.
Donald, stop healing yourself. God damn it. Come on.
The thing is,
stop using Cure when you've got a little bit of health.
The only thing Goofy is useful for is his MP gift ability. It's give me MP, Goofy. Do it now.
Or tanking, just to distract them. Yeah. Please distract them while I do shit.
Otherwise, you swap them out pretty quickly.
Actually, one of the trophies in the game is to do a beginner or to do a speed run of the game, and of course it makes most sense to do it on beginner. And I blitzing through the game when I got to the final bosses, I wasn't very strong because I was blitzing through it and actually couldn't do a lot of damage at all.
So you're doing a speed run basically.
Well, yeah, but at that point, Goofy actually was really useful because he was a heck of a lot stronger than Sora was. So I actually had him Goofy, do your tornado ability or whatnot. Just, do all the damage that I can't do.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Hey, pro tip: use Goofy a lot if you're trying to get through the speedrun trophy. So
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I already pretty much admit that I'm terrible at video games, and so like I always had a hard time in Kingdom Hearts. I guess I died a lot in those games. I don't know if it's just me. I mean, it wasn't like all the time because there's definitely points in those games where it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's like you almost feel like they're giving it to you. But I do remember dying quite a lot. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's in the red. Oh, the siren's going up. Oh, I'm dead.
I hope they tune up Proud Mode for Kingdom Hearts 2 when they remaster that, because Proud Mode in that game is also easy. But the thing is, critical mode is too hard for me.
I do remember 2 being easier than 1.
One great thing about Kingdom Hearts 2 that people like to do for a challenge, and Kingdom Hearts 1 just wasn't built this way, is you can pop on 0 experience and go through the game. And it's actually feasible because how the system works with bosses actually will give you stat ups and some abilities and things like that when you defeat them. So it's not like you're going through the game with your initial abilities and initial stats all the time. So it works. Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, they added the EXP 0 as well. However, you don't get any stat ups or any sort of progression from bosses at all. So it's I wasn't even planning to attempt anything like that because it doesn't sound like it would work very well once you got a certain way in.
Yep. Yeah. So it sounds like what people like to do in the second game, because the second game I thought was even easier than the first initially. It is.
It's so easy. It's a lot easier.
Which was the thing I disliked about it most. But that critical mode sounds like, hey, if you want to play this game and actually have a challenge, this is what you want to do.
Critical mode is way too hard for me. I love hard. I beat Dark Souls multiple times, like doing dumb shit, but no, I can't do critical mode.
I guess like when I play RPGs, I don't really do it too much for the gameplay. It's mostly for the story, and so like playing it, I usually play like normal beginning mode just because I just want to experience the story. And I think Kingdom Hearts 2's story was better than the first one, so that's why I didn't have as much a problem with it being. I could obviously tell that it was easier than the first one. It was pretty straightforward. I mean, it didn't even feel like they had enough that many enemies on screen until like the very obvious points where they did just throw a bunch of enemies on screen at once, but like they weren't that difficult at all. So I could see that.
Yep.
All right. So, I guess I can talk about what I've been playing. I don't know. So this past month, I've basically been trying to catch up on a lot of the games that I missed because, as Adam mentioned, it's been kind of light. The only big game I think came out like Kingdom Hearts, right? That was like the only really big
in terms
RPG.
of RPGs this month. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. Other than that, it was pretty dry, and so trying to get the games that I wanted to play before the big rush and in the coming months from the new consoles and stuff like that. So, what I did to prepare, because I played through all the Hyperdimension Neptunia games, all 3 of them, and so I beat through all those. Finally beat Victory. I've had Neptunia Victory for a few months now, so I'll have a review up on the site soon enough. It's just getting around to playing those games sometimes can be a little bit much, but that and I really I'll have a lot to say about Victory soon enough. But I think the thing I like most about those games is the writing, and so I've been enjoying those games pretty much. I don't know. Have you guys ever played any of the Neptunia games at all?
Yeah,
the first one.
I got Mark II as a gift from someone. I beat all of Mark II, and then
What ending did you get?
I got the normal ending because I'm dumb.
Oh, you missed. Oh
it's
gosh.
Okay. And then
one of the endings in Mark II is pretty much the most traumatizing thing you've ever seen.
And I'm playing through Victory right now, and both games are freaking terrible.
Oh, I disagree. Surprise!
They're really bad. I don't know how. I can. The thing is, okay, I'll say that they're really terrible games, but they're actually fun to play.
I think that's the thing, is that in at least the thing I have with Victory after playing 1 and 2 is that the main issue I had with Victory is that a lot of obviously the dungeons are recycled to no end. Like they keep using the same dungeons over and over and over again. Like anywhere you go, even if it's story driven, it's only until like maybe the very end where you might get like a new dungeon or two, but otherwise it's mostly like the same locations.
There's only 4. Like I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
There's literally 4 dungeon styles. Like literally, I kid you not, there are 4.
Yeah. In the exact same layout. Yep. It's not even like they're using different, like swapping the tile sets or something like that. No, it's
Not
literally
even the same enemy types exploring in that area too. The same enemy types. I'm like, what is
enemies?
this?
The flag is in the exact same location over here in the corner. That was the biggest scene I could put against that game.
These are
That's
literally like exact carbon copies. Like, I'm not exaggerating.
that was obvious. I was like, every time I came across the same place, like, what the hell are they doing? It's like, I've been here before like 10 times. It's like an even totally different continent. It's the exact same. I was like, how did this even happen? But, I think the thing I like about those games, the writing. I think that's the only real reason why people appreciate those games is due to the writing.
It's super pandery. Like, I've never seen a game so pandery. Like, I've seen Aggress War, and that was pandery. I'm like, no, this takes it up to another level.
Aggress War. Well, that's Aggress War. My gosh. But I think, at least for Neptunia Victory.
Victory was fun. I like.
Yeah,
I liked it, but I think Victory is a terrible game.
I think it's like a casual enjoyment. Like it's like
no. This is a guilty pleasure game. This is not a casual like. It's got fun game. No, this is a guilty pleasure game.
But there's plenty of moments in that game where I was actually laughing out loud at some of the moments, especially like a lot of the stupid facial expressions that they had in some of those spots. But that's once again, it's like one of those games where it's like a lot of these games like to be dark and brooding, but here comes Neptunia where it's like a lot of bright colors, and it's one of those games that I can kind of enjoy with a smile on my face. I guess I know it sounds kind of corny, but that so I beat Neptunia Victory, so I'll have
these games not very long. You said you beat 3 of them.
Yeah, they're not long at all.
Each of them are roughly like, depending on how fast you do them, I would say they range from about 10 hours to 20.
Okay.
Yeah. That's only if you get one ending. There are multiple endings. But
okay.
The thing is, there's New Game Plus, and everything transfers over, so you can literally skip all, like, trash mob fights and just go to the bosses and skip all cutscenes. So, like, I did Mark II, and I'm trying to go through the second ending. I'm at the final dungeon for at the second ending, and I think it took me like 3 hours to get to the final boss.
Yeah, once you get through that, it's pretty. You can skip a lot of that stuff, and there's a skip button that just goes right through the text immediately. So that I think, I would say if you were just playing it for the first time on each of them, it's like 20 hours.
I'll tell you right now, Adam, you will hate this game. Do not play it.
Yeah, I've said several times how that pandering type of, I guess, themes and the cutesiness of it.
Yeah.
I would say it's very cutesy.
But does it?
I would not.
No.
I
do not.
Personally, I don't think it leans too far enough where some games like to go. I think it goes there. It definitely goes there. Like there's bathing scenes and stuff like that. It definitely goes there.
No.
I just
You're so wrong, Zach.
No,
You're so wrong.
Personally, I like
the wazoo.
So, enlighten me. I'm not very familiar. The developers of these games, is it Compile Heart, or am I getting it?
Compile Heart idea.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen a couple of Compile Heart games, and just that art style that they use, basically kind of,
consistent.
shuts me off right away. Like, nah, not interested.
Well, that's the only reason I only recently got those games, because I was pretty much like, I had thrown those away pretty quickly when they first came out. Like Kyle, who works for Save Continue, our sister site, he was the one that was covering those games before. Like he covered the first one in Mach 2 when he did the reviews. So like I for the most part I didn't have any interest in it all, but I kind of went back to it just because it's the end of a generation. I wanted to go back and play these RPGs that I never really tried. I liked how it does a lot of references to the game industry, because that's the whole thing about that game, is that the main characters are supposed to represent the consoles. Like here's the Wii, here's Sony, here's Microsoft. Basically, they make up their own jokes about, like, here's Leanbox, here's Last Station, and what's the third one?
Louis?
Yeah, Louis, yes. And so it was, and putting it all aside, I think the only reason you may like those games is I liked the English voice acting. I like the dub in that game. Like I
actually have heard that those dubs are pretty good.
For anime,
it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's you can do a lot worse.
The Japanese voice acting, I think, is better, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. The Japanese voice acting is pretty good. Like if you watch a lot of anime, you'll enjoy this. I mean, you can stand the English dub. The English dub is legitimately better than you expect. But
I can't recommend this game to anyone. I don't know how you can, but
well, they're only like $10-$20, and so it's easy to recommend when they're that cheap.
they're not $10-$20. They're like $30-$40.
Maybe not. Well, the Victory, of course, is newer. I got
40, Mark II is 30.
I got those. Well, if you buy it brand new, of course. But
no,
I
use their 25, and the one there's 35.
What are you looking at?
GameStop.
GameStop? Oh, I don't buy from GameStop.
Okay, what other used places are going to buy it from?
Amazon. You buy Amazon Marketplace.
Okay, all right,
that's where that's where I got like Disgaea 4 I got brand new for like $18, so that wasn't a problem. So yeah, speaking of which, so I got through the Neptunia games, but I also played through all of the Disgaea games, and so that was.
Oh my gosh, that's
sorry, those games not very long either.
No, Disgaea is long.
It's if you really want to get into it, like if you want to get to level 9,999, you're going to be spending hundreds of hours. But like those games, if you just play the story and do a little bit of grinding just so you can not be completely decimated.
Like 30 hours each, dude.
Yeah, 25, 30 hours. And so I had a lot of free time. I did a triathlon last month, and so once I got that done, I had a lot of free time because I didn't want to, like 6 months of exercise, and I was tired of doing it for a while. So I was like, okay, now I have a ton of free time. So I played through those games. I've beaten all 3 and 4. I just beat 4 a week ago. And now I'm playing Disgaea D2, which Liz said, she's playing right now. I'm covering that for the site. And this is why I love strategy games so damn much, strategy RPGs, is because I was only a few episodes into that game, and now I've completely broken it. And now I figured out a way to completely decimate in that game. Like I had characters like level 20 and stuff like that, and then I figured out how to gain a lot of experience points, and now they're like level 60 while everyone else is like 25, 30. So it's like that's the thing I love most. That's why I like Final Fantasy Tactics. That's like my favorite one of my favorite RPGs is because like only part way in, all of a sudden you're completely dominating, and so that's what you can do a lot in Disgaea D2 as well. And so I've been playing that game a lot, and so far Disgaea D2, I can go out and said that there's no embargo or something like that, and that game comes out next week. If you like Disgaea, it's pretty much the best Disgaea game yet. It's a direct.
Games are good,
and the last one too.
I love the Disgaea series. I think that for me, for Disgaea, it was always the best when it was Laharl and Etna and Flown. That was the best that they got. 2 and 3 and 4, it's not as great. Although Disgaea 4, hearing Troy Baker talk about sardines all the time was like, what the hell is going on? And then his the main the guy has the voice of Lu Bu, and so it was just like Jameson Price just hearing his voice. It's like, oh god, this is so weird, and so it was way over the top. Disgaea 3, I think the best part of that game was probably the intro, and then the rest of the game it was all right. It was a lot of it was like the Overlord's son whining about his dad a lot, so that wasn't as great.
I actually loved Disgaea 3 story a little bit. Like
the ending was kind of good. I mean,
not the story itself, more the implications it had toward certain things. Like it kind of turned the whole concept of hero and villain on its head.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I guess I should say that like the thing I love most about the game is the intro, but yeah, the story was actually pretty good as well. It's I've definitely put it above 2 and 4 in terms of my enjoyment out of that. And it's the English dub in that game is also really good. It's got Vic Mignogna, so you're hearing the voice of Ed.
How do you pronounce his name?
Yeah,
like
Vic Mignogna.
Pronounced it wrong all these years.
It's Actually, I got to meet him at an anime convention once.
Oh, cool.
And he was walking around with this Star Trek uniform that he likes to wear a lot.
Those events?
Yeah, I haven't been to one in a few years now, but I used to go to Anime Central, which is like the biggest one in the Midwest, a lot. But he was there, and he wore like a Star Trek uniform, and then he was squirting his engineer outfit, I guess, and he was shooting people with this squirt gun whenever he asked a question.
Now
he didn't like
these games. Now I see why you like these games.
I'm very transparent. I'm a huge fan of anime. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm a fan of anime too, just not the extent you are.
Well, it's I like Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know, but so that was really good. The good thing about Disgaea D2 is a direct sequel to 1, but like none of it is like you don't need to know anything about that story really to get into it. I mean, they basically explain everything within the first like half an hour. Everything you, not even that, probably like the first like 10 minutes about what you need to know about the story. But so moving on from there, it was the game like they pretty much carried over all the best stuff from the other games and pretty much built up this pretty amazing content-packed game, and there's all these cool things that they added in. Like, for one thing, there's this thing called a cheat shop, which is an NPC that's in the area where you can go and talk to. And then what you can do is that they have these sliding bars, so what you can do is that you could, for example, you could lower the amount of money you get and increase the experience points that you get. So a lot of that stuff makes the game a lot more accessible for players to get into, and it's still not anywhere near difficult to play, but people seem to complain about those games being hard to approach, and so I think this game does a good job getting new players to join in. So yeah, so I've been playing that. I'll have a review up soon too. I hope to get both those games reviewed soon. But now that we're done with that, let's move on to some news for the month.
We're not going to go over what I played?
I thought we already talked about what you played.
I just said League of Legends and moved on.
I thought that was what you've been playing.
No, I've been playing other stuff.
What have you been playing?
I told you, I've been playing Neptunia, and then I played through Project Diva F, and then Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, you played Project Diva. I haven't picked up that game. How was that been? I actually wanted to.
I would say it's not as good as the previous Project Diva games. The song choice isn't... The songs are just... They're not that great. Like, there's a couple of standouts that are really good, and then, like, the rest are pretty crap.
I think for me, it's like good for them for localizing that game.
Yeah, don't expect another Project Diva localization. But
that's the thing. They just announced a new one. I don't think.
Yeah,
there's a chance.
I'm more excited for Diva as second because the song list already looks better. Like, because it has stuff from the old games.
Is World Is Mine there? Is that one of the songs?
No.
Or Bad Apple? Now, Bad Apple's not even a vocalized song, is it?
It has, it already has Romeo and Cinderella. Like, I'm already sold.
Really?
Yeah, I'm already freaking sold.
They actually have those songs.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. They should just make a DLC.
That was a great first song. The first song for this game sucked. I was like, what is this shit? It was terrible. It was like, it's called Cat Food. And I'm like, what?
Cat Food and then the polka song.
I was like, yeah, what the hell? Whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's what I've been playing.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, all right. All right. And so moving on to the biggest news of September. There wasn't a whole lot in the grand scheme for RPGs anyway, but we kind of want to touch on some of these big stories that came out of the month. First off, of course, is the news that Sega bought Index Holdings, the parent company of Atlus, and now owns Atlus, basically.
I'm surprised.
So what are you guys' thoughts about this move? I mean, there's been a lot of controversy coming out, a lot of people upset about the whole thing based on Sega's track record, but what do you guys personally feel about that? Like, Adam, what do you think about it?
Well, I'm not totally, up to speed on some of the business side of things. I know Sega has always had a fair amount of, money to spend due to their, their pachinko success in Japan. So, it always is a possibility that Sega would buy them. Now, the first thing that came to mind, of course, is that Sega
Sammy.
and localization don't seem to go hand in hand very well. With Valkyria Chronicles series, we never got the third title in that series. Yakuza never showed up. Some of those later titles never showed up, and so you got to wonder, what does this mean for some of the Atlus titles that have typically shown up in the West? I don't think brands like Persona at all we have to worry about. But some of those other
Train Odyssey was so gonna get canned.
Yeah, some of those titles and things like that you got to wonder about.
Well, I don't think Sega would have bought Atlus unless they knew that a lot of Atlus IP is more valuable than 80% of Sega's IP at this point.
No.
Persona is way more valuable than most of Sega's
Persona's
stuff.
one IP among several that Atlus owns. No,
I'm talking about those types of IP though. They wouldn't have invested so much in them if they
I'm
hadn't.
pretty sure they bought out Atlus just for sake of Persona.
That's enough, but then again,
and their experience in creating small dev games. I'm pretty sure that's why they bought them out. There's no way that they bought they're like Atlus IPs, like their games don't sell that much. There's no like from business standpoint, like considering how Sega has been like canning niche titles and crap like that, like there's no reason for Sega to buy or. Okay, we should make the clarification. This is not Sega, the publisher or the developer. Like this is I forgot what it's called.
Sega Sammy.
Sega Sammy, which is a parent to Sega, like the video game division. So like,
yeah.
So essentially, Atlus is gonna be another branch for Sega
well,
Sammy.
It's like Relic and Creative Assembly. I mean, well, they bought those guys. And
no,
not Creative Assembly. I'm sorry, Relic. So.
I completely disagree on like your like. I guess stance.
Well, we're talking about like but like what IP from Sega like I'm on except for like Sonic, and some of these other ones. Like I could safely argue that Atlus has got some pretty powerful brands behind them. That's the reason they would pick them up.
This is not powerful. Shin Megami Tensei isn't that powerful. What else do they have?
I would disagree on that one.
Persona is their strongest, like by a large margin.
But it's still Shin Megami, but yeah, I'm talking about like you gotta like also in Japan really. I mean that series still has a lot of ground, but
like also despite like the Persona 4 brand, like despite it being strong, like it didn't help Persona 4 Arena at all. Like the sales for that game they weren't good.
Well, it's a fighting game for RPG fans. It was.
I mean, even if it was a fighting game, like it just didn't do well. Like the thing is like because it has a brand name on it, there are fans of it who will still buy it. That game's still tanked. So like, and Sega just doesn't develop or publish niche games for the U.S. anymore. Like, Yakuza's gone. Adam mentioned Valkyria Chronicles. Like, no, this doesn't make sense. They're gonna can niche games. Etrian Odyssey is gonna die. And whatever other, I forget what other titles.
Titles like Dragon's Crown, you have to wonder, like, would titles like that be published here under Sega?
No.
Well,
I don't know.
At the same time, you can give an explanation for things like Valkyria Chronicles and for Yakuza here. Like what? Like, okay, for example, like, not many people bought Valkyria Chronicles 2, and you're talking about the PSP, which was pretty much on death's door by the time that Valkyria Chronicles 3 was coming out, at least in the U.S., and so it's like, why would they want to spend all that money releasing another big game, having to spend all that money on releasing a strategy RPG that requires a ton of localization?
Okay, why would they localize a game that doesn't generate that much sales on a platform that's exceptionally strong? Like Etrian Odyssey on the DS doesn't make any sense. There are IPs that will just die out because Sega's like, no, we're not.
Wait, do you mean Seventh Dragon?
No, I don't mean Seventh Dragon. I
mean, where did Etrian Odyssey come from?
Etrian Odyssey is an Atlus game.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, that game, that brand, like that.
Yeah, I thought you were transitioning into something about. Never mind. Continue.
No, I would say all IPs.
Is there going to be another Etrian Odyssey game after Millennium?
No, I don't think so.
Even if they don't localize it, though, I don't think there's anything saying they couldn't make another one of those games, and that's up to Sega, of course, about how they're going to
do it for Japan.
We're going to miss out on Curse Crusade and Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I don't think it's really.
They'll do.
I don't
Japan.
know.
Like they'll develop probably those games for Japan, but I don't think we'll see localizations because there just isn't. They're going to look at the sales number and they're like, no, this is not worth investing our time into.
I mean, I was surprised enough that the Yakuza games are coming here at all based on how late the Yakuza games, the original on the PlayStation 2, came out so damn late as it were. I mean, they sold pretty poorly all across the board, so it's like, it's not too surprising when they say, well, at the same time, when they say they have no plans to localize a game, I'm just like, it's pretty much like loud noise around me. It's like, well, that just means no comment. It doesn't mean anything. It's just blah, 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 blah.
Well, they also shut down, like, all the Yakuza sites recently.
That was like, yeah, there was a story coming from a little bit ago that they were localized. But that's also because they're pretty much restructuring right now. There's no idea to like kind of interpret what exactly that means. It could be that maybe they're trying to get everything together. It's the same with Valkyria Chronicles, but you got several Yakuza games over here. You have several Valkyria Chronicles games. Well, you have the 2 games, I'm sorry, that came over here out of the 3. But it's like, what else? Why would they be shutting down those sites if you have Yakuza 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here? So I don't think these titles. They're going to be like Square Enix. They're just going to look at them and be like, no, it's not worth our time. We're not going to do anything about it. We're just not going to localize these games. Like what games though? Like Square Enix, I mean, they just came out and said Type 0, they're looking into releasing it after all, and
on
then
the
with
Vita, probably not for the PSP.
That's fine. I mean, it's why would that be a bad thing?
I'm saying they looked at the market for the PSP and they're like, and how well it would do. They're like, no, we're just not going to do it. It's not. Despite the game selling, I'm pretty sure it would have made a profit. They're just like, no, it's not that much profit. It's not worth making. It's not worth investing our time into.
Yeah, it's about the amount of return.
That's what Sega's going to exactly do for these.
Their business. They got to think about like a business. So at the same time, it makes sense. But also, that was the whole thing about the Japanese industry overall. I mean, that's why you have companies like Xseed coming in and saying, okay, we'll help you bring your games over. And, like, they have to fight. I mean, I talked to Vic Ireland a couple of years ago at E3, and he was talking about how incredibly difficult it was to convince people to bring over these games. I mean, he helped put out Class of Heroes 2 earlier this year, as I mentioned before. And that was one of those – it was a sequel to a game, and it was like people didn't like the first one that much. And so trying to convince someone to bring over the sequel to that game, I'm sure was immensely difficult. If the first game didn't sell that well and wasn't received that well. So just imagine having to do that for a platform that's no longer in anyone's mind, you know.
I don't agree with this. I just don't. I can't.
Don't agree with this.
I don't. I can't. That to me, that
I think in the long run, I don't think we have much to worry about with, like Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. But
no, those games are going to come over.
It's basically everything else.
Yeah, everything else.
You have to be a little bit hesitant towards.
But like, it's not like Atlus puts out a whole lot else each year. I mean, I think Catherine was like the only game they put out.
I know this sounds outrageous. I said this before. I'm pretty sure Atlus is going to be phased in as a mobile developer. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
I have no problem with that as long as they're putting out good games. I think I'm probably most like, not to say annoyed, but like just like confused about why everyone is so immensely like upset about the shift to mobile. It's like that's Japan right now. They're all mobile. That's the whole thing. That's why they're making more games for that, is because it's such a mobile society now that you got trains going everywhere over there. So it's like, if I have no problem if they're going to make a console quality experience on a mobile platform.
Yeah, the problem is they're not console quality. Look at Breath of Fire 6. That's not console quality. That's a fuck.
Well, we don't even know what that is right now. That game's we barely got.
I know what that game is. You know what that game is? It's trash.
No, what am I thinking of? There's one from the Breath of Fire guy that's making one that just looks like you just go forward and then you attack, and you go forward and you attack or something. It's more linear than Final Fantasy 13.
No, I this sounds familiar, but I'm trying to remember what it was. I
can't remember the name of it. It was like. It's just some mobile game. I know it said. I think it said from the Breath of Fire guy. It might have said from the Wild Arm.
Yeah,
I can't really remember.
Well, I know that.
That's the future if mobile.
Well, I know. Yeah, Sumi Matsuno announced that he's working on a new mobile RPG. Like the guy who made Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre and stuff like that. If you don't know who he is, then wake up. But like, he's working on a game that's kind of like, he said he's like kind of like Tactics, and he's releasing it on a mobile platform. Android, iOS, and all that stuff. So it's like, if people like them are the ones making those games, I have no problem with it. It's like
they're different though. They work on mobile.
I don't really see too many of those that work unless it's a port. Like I've yet to really. I can't think of any. Like, have you played any good ones? I'm not saying they don't exist. I just
really play that many mobile games in general. So yeah, I don't know. I just think they can work because you just touch your character, get them over to the 5 steps away or whatever.
Well, okay, so like they put those games, like even Chaos Reigns, which was a really good RPG, that was on mobile. They are porting it to the Vita, although I think it's like a weird free-to-play thing, if I'm not mistaken. But like if they can make those types of games, it's like it doesn't. What's the difference between putting it on the Vita and putting it on your phone? It's like I think it's really the mindset of the developer about what they need to put on there. Well, Vita's got touchscreen and stuff like that too, and the 3DS and stuff like that. It's just that they have the controller. I don't know. I guess me personally, I just don't.
I'd be fine with it too if there was a controller with it. I can't do the no button thing. It just like I try to play a bunch of Kemco games with it and it just doesn't work.
That's true. Well, Kemco's got like a billion games, and so it's like finding the good one out of those is kind of.
I just can't do the no button thing. If there was a controller and the games were good, I'd be fine with the switch to mobile.
I got a controller that you put your phone inside of. It's like I think it's like an MOG controller that you can put your phone on. Oh. There's also, you can hook up your PlayStation 3 controller to it and play it with Bluetooth.
Interesting.
So it's those exist, but at the same time, I mean, even I think Apple's working on something like that. But it's not really quite the thing about using the touchscreen. It's because I mean you got Final Fantasy games on there too. It's the effort that those developers put in. A lot of the time, it's like they're trying to cash in and stuff like that. But making Atlus into a mobile developer, if that means like smartphone games, if it means like a lot of handheld games, like Vita, 3DS and stuff like that, I can be kind of upset about that. But at the same time, that's just the state of things. There's plenty of other developers out there who can put out the games that I want on the console. So I guess if Atlus has to do it, then it's like, well, if they only put out one, if they put out Persona 5. And it means that I have to put up with like 4 or 5 of these crappy Shin Megami Tensei spin-offs, and it's like, okay.
Persona 5 doesn't exist.
Yeah, they don't. No one talks about that game anymore. It's Persona 6, so that's going to be coming. So anyway, that leads us to our next big news, of course, is that Sony announced at their little pre-TGS show that they're going to be putting out...
it was during TGS.
No, it was before it. It was September 9th, I think. They announced that they're going to be putting out the Vita TV.
I'm pretty sure this was during the keynote.
No, it was before.
Yeah, it was before.
Oh, okay. The keynote was boring metrics and stuff you already knew about. It was the September 9th. That's the same one they announced, like Natural Doctrine, which is a tactical RPG they're putting out.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah, that game.
Not like a much Valkyria Chronicles type of vibe to it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like active tactical RPG. Like you actually interact with the environment. You can hide behind things. You can the environment can be somewhat destructible. And apparently, like it's more of like a simulation stuff. So like you have a lot more control over the characters, like Valkyria Chronicles. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that game's going to be if it gets brought over. But then the main character's name is Jeff, so. Might be a decent chance that if that's any indication, of course. But yeah, they announced the Vita TV, which lets you play Vita games on it's a box, a really small box that you put on a set-top box. You can put your Vita games into. So it's got a slot for that. It's got a slot for memory cards, so you can take it straight from your Vita. But it has, I think it's 1 gigabyte internal memory, so you can use that. Put like maybe a game or two, but mostly it's just to keep for minimum storage, like save games, stuff like that. But yeah, that was pretty big, like $100 for something like that,
Yeah, you don't even need a Vita for it.
No, but to be fair, it's not a Vita replacement, and so you can't. Of course, you can't take the games with you. I think that's something that it's like when the Super Game Boy came out. I bought one of my family bought one of those, and it's like that was a hell of a lot of fun playing your Game Boy games on the big screen. But that didn't replace having to take that thing around with you wherever you went. And the idea of playing PS4 games at work or something like that would be fun. But what do you guys think about the Vita TV? Is that like, have you bought a Vita? Any of you guys?
I don't own a Vita. Yeah. I don't own a Vita. I've owned my brother's. I use my brother's to play video games.
Yeah, I have a Vita, and I mean, first of all, a lot of Vita games, maybe not a lot, but a good number of Vita games do use the touchscreen and things like that.
Yeah.
And those games,
like Gravity Rush is the best game out there.
And like Uncharted and whatnot, those games are not going to be playable on Vita TV because of that. So there's only a subset of games that are going to be playable. Basically dependent on whether or not they use those functionalities a lot or not. But I mean, overall, I think it's a very smart move. I mean, some people, they might be interested in some Vita games, but they're not really interested in the Vita hardware or in the portable aspect of it. So if they can, instead of spending, $250 to get a Vita and then games, they can spend less than half of that.
Correction, $200.
Oh, is it $200? Oh, right, it was.
They dropped it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it's still a lot.
Anyways, they can spend half that and to get, to be able to play at least some of these games still on the big screen. I mean, obviously, of course, you lose the portability aspect of it, but to some people that may not be a big loss at all.
Yeah, and And I think the other big news is that like you can play your PlayStation 1 and your PSP games, the downloadable ones. You can play those games on there as well. And then they're talking about like you can use it to play on your PlayStation 4 in a different room. All you have to do is take the box with you, and you can play it on a different TV.
Well, all that's doing is essentially acting like a Vita, and it's just remote play. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it's tethered to your TV. But then, if you have a Vita, you have free one.
I think the most interesting aspect about the Vita TV is that it's a saying. It's a middleware game console. Like. Yeah. You have the high-end game consoles like the PS4, the Xbox One, the next-gen stuff. And then you have the Vita TV, which is actually a really smart product because it's like the Ouya, or whatever the crap, or the Uno. It's like that, except better and smarter because there's an established library of good products on there. And not only that, it's cheap, except for the shitty proprietary memory stick. And it works in tandem with other PlayStation products you already own. It's an extreme, and this is the thing that will kill Microsoft's Xbox One because I said the Xbox One's multimedia functionalities are extremely good, it's much better than the PS4, but the way they created the PlayStation ecosystem right now. It's so much better now. With the addition of the Vita TV, it just makes the brand and its products that much stronger.
Yeah, and
that's go ahead.
with PlayStation Plus, there's probably a lot of future Vita owners that kind of already have a backlog of Vita games that they've grabbed off of PlayStation Plus, so they can buy this they can buy this $99 console, and then they already have a bunch of games to play.
Yeah,
That's the thing. And then, Sony was talking about that years ago where they said that the biggest problem at that point was that they didn't have a strong cohesion with their products. And so that's basically what the big thing about the restructuring was, and that's why, Kazurai came in and helped out. But, the cool thing is also is that in early 2014, they're saying that they're going to get Gaikai up and working for the PlayStation 4. So they're talking about, you can use that stuff to play those games on your smartphone, tablet, things like that. But the idea that Vita TV, you could play your PS1 games, your PSP games, you could play off the PlayStation 2 games on the store or anything like that. There's also potential for the PS3 games, and because it's just streaming technology, maybe even your PlayStation 4 games. They already do the remote play, of course. So you're talking about, all the history of the games that are available for download right now on the PlayStation Network. You can play it on that Vita TV. That's wow.
I still think the Vita, the brand itself, both Vita TV and the PS Vita, the portable product, still is going to face a problem because despite them working in tandem, they're designed with very different ideas in mind.
It's playing smartphone games on your TV. If you hooked it up, you phone to your TV.
Well, not only that, but you as a game developer, you have to think am I creating this thing as a portable product? Because like you said, touchscreen isn't workable on the Vita TV. So am I creating this for the Vita, or am I creating this for the Vita TV, to work as a game console? So your developers are going to have a hard time trying to figure out what exactly are we going to do with this thing.
I think as long as they focused on developing, because first and foremost, it's a Vita game, no matter what. But it's that they're it's. I guess that is that kind of the big problem though, is that do you want to develop and put those touch controls in there to risk not being also on the Vita TV? I guess
the easier but the more challenging method is easier solution, challenging method is that I guess they can just make it workable on both, but I think that's sort of stupid because then sometimes you might be sacrificing gameplay design decisions to accommodate both, and I think that's sort of dumb.
Yeah, I think that's probably why that there's any Vita games that are playable on the Vita TV is that it can do without the touch controls because you can enable them. But it's at the same time though, it's for Sony, people throwing up their hand well, this is going to kill the Vita. It's Sony wasn't making money off the hardware; they were making money off the software and the memory sticks. That was
the memory. I think the one thing that needs to be pointed out about the Vita TV, and I don't agree with this decision by Sony at all, is that they're releasing this in Japan first, and that makes no sense to me at all. This product is totally catered to the Western technological ecosystem because the thing all about Japan, which is like extremely, I bring it up all the time. It's extremely similar to Korea. It's a very mobile-based social infrastructure, and like the Vita makes sense. The portability of that that system makes sense. The Vita TV does not make sense because like.
Well, I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think the argument is in the U.S. because like streaming capabilities and that type of media, I guess viewpoint is pretty common, and so Vita TV would have a lot more competition in a sense because it is kind of similar in some sense to Roku and to Netflix, like all that other streaming. Of course, it has the game aspect as well. Whereas in Japan, I think I forget who made the statement, but like one of the Sony heads, like they are launching it there first because either because or in spite of, however you want to say it, that type of mind share isn't really there yet, so it's hoping to kind of create it. I don't know.
Spread out. I think it's all created. Yeah. There's no way to create. If they did that, their answer is PlayStation 4, not the not the Vita TV.
I think it's at the same time. It's also the fact that it's coming out. It's pretty much the same day that the PlayStation 4 launches here, and I think it's also kind of appeasing people in Japan because we're not going to be able to launch this until February. Let's give you something where you'll have your kind of console thing before that happens.
I don't know because I've been into a Japanese home before. Like a typical Japanese home has like one TV, maybe two. Like the Vita TV uses a TV. The TV that's in the household is like a family TV. So if you want to actually play games, it's a lot more efficient to have a portable game and you just play a game in your room. So you just have PlayStation Vita and you just play in your room. You don't. It makes no sense in that social. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
I think Adam was raising the point though pretty well is that that in Japan they don't really have the amount of crazy set-top boxes that North America does, and so they have that gap in the market for something like that to come in and
I understand that, but I don't think they can create that market because the other side of that coin is so the other side of what works right now is so unbelievably strong and dominant that there is no place for that market gap at all.
Well, the whole point is that you create that need, and so what the Sony is doing is creating that need. Is like, oh well, I do need this because that'd be kind of cool to have something like that available. And in America, no one really thought about those things until Apple was putting one out, and then you have all these other companies like the Roku and stuff like that creating their. I mean, obviously Roku came first, but doing those types of things, and the fact that the Vita TV can work as more than just that. It's also for games and stuff like that. It's not like the consoles are suffering big losses over there either. It's not like it's all about the handhelds. So
I don't think this thing will sell that much. I don't think this thing will sell any more than. Okay, it'll sell more than the Vita because anything can sell more than the Vita. I don't think it'll sell that well.
I think, there's obviously a lot of people here interested in that thing. So.
There's been a lot of interest in the West, so much so.
Probably bigger than Japan.
Right.
In Japan, I'm saying in Japan. In West, it'll do extremely well, I think. I don't think it'll do that well in Japan at all.
Have they actually officially announced it for the West, or are they?
No.
They
said that.
They said all but confirmed type of thing.
It was like a wink and a nod.
Yeah.
So.
It's coming. If they don't bring this over, they're dumb. This is built for the Western market. They're dumb as shit if they don't build.
Obviously, they're going to do it. I think that's a foregone conclusion that they'll bring it over. It's just that they need to. The fact that that thing works off the video services, they got to get all those contracts going first.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on the Vita TV. I think it's a smart product. I just think they were totally releasing in the wrong country.
I think it's pretty clear that it's because Sony's going to have a lot more competition here than they will in Japan for that stuff because they're still trying to figure out that territory where Sony is actually based there.
0 times 0 is 0. Just going to tell you that right now.
What? What is that?
0 times anything is 0. It doesn't matter if the market's there or not. If there's no money to gain from that market, it doesn't matter.
I'm sure Sony's done the metrics and figured out that it would be potential.
I'll give them.
But anyway, I think the Vita TV is pretty awesome. But anyway, other than that, what else was there? So, of course, another big news came out was that Xseed announced they're finally going to localize the second game in the Trails in the Sky trilogy.
Yeah, I haven't played the series at all.
It's
good.
You should definitely play it. It's a very good series.
I've been beaten. I've been tortured, strangled, all sorts of brutality inflicted on me to play this game. But several.
So we actually haven't learned from Liz much. Liz, have you played the game?
I've only played a few hours into it. I got to the point where you recruit the bard, or I don't remember his name, but it's a pretty good game, especially in the gameplay department, at least so far from what I played.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that it's a traditional RPG, so it takes a lot of stuff like classic RPGs, but it's got some cool things too. Like for a fact, like in the battle, it's like grid based, and so you're moving out on a grid. But also, one of the kind of cool touches I liked that I remember is that if you were doing a quest and then you had to have somebody come along with you, they actually showed up inside the battles, and so you had to protect them in the battles themselves. So I thought that was like a neat little touch.
Yeah, Trails in the Sky series, I think what it's most well known for is like its world building and its narrative and its characters, and not even just the playable characters, but every single NPC kind of has their own personality, and the dialogue. And the reason why these localizations have kind of been such a problem for Xseed is there's just so much dialogue, because NPCs will change what they're saying depending on where you are and in a certain points of the game, and it's like the perfect RPG for players like Zach to kind of get lost in the world and the characters and the lore and the narrative. I mean, I'm not saying like the gameplay is second fiddle to that, because the gameplay is really, really good too. With it's kind of strategic battle system and the orbment system for.
God, that took a long time for me to get into, but once you figured that thing out, that was very rewarding.
So you have a lot of control over how you build your characters depending on what orbments you select and what skills those orbments have.
It's like a mini job system. It's pretty crazy.
The word that the Xseed PR likes to use a lot for the game is meticulous. That everything is so meticulous in terms of how the world is built. I know one of the biggest criticisms of the first Trails in the Sky game is that its prologue chapter is like twice as long as any other chapter.
Yeah,
it's a slow burn, but I really think that in the end it's actually a very good thing in terms of how it's building up everything at that point. And it just it takes a while to kind of get into everything, but that's just kind of the type of story the games are trying to tell. And second chapter, which is coming out on PSP but also on PC next year sometime.
Yeah, they announced that, of course, that Trails in the Sky will be the second chapter will be coming out next year. But then, they also announced that the original Trails in the Sky, which was in Japan, it first came out on the PC before it was ported to the PSP. They're going to be localizing the PC version, so they got that figured out, of course, and now they're putting that on Steam soon. And so that's going to be joining that. Also with the news of E7's coming out soon too, so that'll be big for them. But it's I think it's funny because my brother was talking not too long ago that he's like, I'd love to play these games, but like I'd rather play them on the PC where it's like big full screen, enjoying it. So it's good to hear that they're doing that as well.
Yeah, I think they were using their Yeast series. Or how do you ever pronounce it? Ease. And they're kind of testing the PC waters. Like, all right, let's just release a couple of games and see how they do. And apparently they've done spectacular. And so that's probably the reason why they're deciding to even localize second chapter in the first place is they believe probably the PC release of it can be quite successful despite the effort needed to localize it.
Well, to kind of correct you there is that they're not putting second chapter. They're not releasing that for the PC. They're releasing that just for the Vita. Although they did announce that they're trying their best to also put it to because in Japan. No,
both first and second chapter are coming out on PC.
Oh,
yeah. The first chapter is coming out later this year on PC, or that's what they said. And then second chapter is coming out on PSP or digital PSP. Probably most people will play it on Vita.
Yep.
And PC next year sometime. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do know that they said that they're trying their best to get the PS3 version of Trails in the Sky also brought over too. They're still in negotiations about that. So, I mean, the big thing about the second chapter is that the problems that they were facing, obviously, that game is massive. I mean, so Trails in the Sky is like 40 hours, but second chapter, you're talking about like 60 hours. So it's like a third longer than the other game. But the crazy thing is that in Japan, it was one of those games where it needed 2 UMD discs because it was that massive. So trying to release something like that digitally, to kind of figure that out on the digital marketplace. That was a big hurdle, and then they've been talking about this thing for like a couple years now. That was one of the biggest problems, was doing that. But apparently, I think it might have been sometime a little bit last year, is that they were talking about how they were finally figured out the problem, and now they were trying their best. And they did say that Xseed by themselves, Xseed's like a small team, like they're made like about a dozen people. And so they needed help, and so Carpe Fulgur, I mess up my Latin all the time, but the team behind Reciteer and Fortune Summoners, which I love Reciteer, that was an amazing game, they are helping them release a second chapter. So they called on some help, and it's great to see that they're working together like that.
Yeah, I think second chapter, it's definitely a highly anticipated release for those who played the first game.
Absolutely,
because it's the first game ends on basically a cliffhanger.
Pretty amazing cliffhanger,
right? And so like fans have been waiting years, not even sure if the second game was ever actually going to come, because it's basically a direct sequel in the most direct way possible.
It started out, and that's why the prologue in the first game was so long, is that it was a planned trilogy. And so you're talking about, like, imagine, Lord of the Rings came out, the first movie came out, and then Two Towers came out like 5 years later. Like imagine the feeling of that, just waiting for something like that to come. And that's kind of like playing. I mean, people can relate to that. If you're playing an RPG, like you played the first one, it's like, well, now try to play in the second one, try to remember like the complete story of the first one. I mean, obviously it gives you an excuse to go back and play it again, but
for the PC release, yeah.
Yeah, they can play it on the PC, and experience. Now that it's on Steam and stuff like that, there'll be Steam achievements and stuff like that to motivate you to play that game. So that, and XD does a pretty good job with those, and so there shouldn't really be any issues. And so that's something to really look forward to. And they just Falcom just put out Sen no Kiseki, the latest game, and that game is bigger than any of the Trails in the Skies series. And so imagine that they put out something like that. So they're missing like Zero no Kiseki. They're missing like all these other games that haven't come out here. Not that they're missing them, but
Yeah, the future of the other Trails games, like Trails in the Sky Third or Final Chapter Third or whatever it's called, and then the other Trails games that kind of follow in the same vein. The future of the series in the West is sort of uncertain. But from what I've heard, and I'm not super familiar with it, that the second chapter does have a concrete ending, unlike Trails in the Sky, the first game, has a concrete ending, wraps up, storylines, so it would be an acceptable place if there were going to be no more localizations. That would be an acceptable place to end the series in the West. Maybe, of course, it's not preferable to people who become big fans of it, but unlike the first game, it doesn't at least it doesn't end on a gigantic cliffhanger with unresolved, plot lines.
It's kind of like as you expected, like in any kind of trilogy, is that the first one is like introducing the characters, the second one delves deep into them, and then the third game is like, okay, now that we've gotten all this out of the way, let's focus on the action. So that's kind of like what that is.
Yeah, the third game in Trails of the Skies trilogy is. Well, the third game in the Trails of the Skies trilogy is something like, it's not necessarily, a continuation of the story in first and second chapter. It's just like kind of like maybe not a side story. I'm not super familiar.
Yeah,
but it's some sort of like additional story, not necessarily a continuation of it. That's right in the same world and the same characters. So I've heard the argument that you don't need to have played that third chapter to understand, or it's not necessarily an essential part of the story. It's probably a very cool part of the story, but not essential.
Yeah, so the second one is definitely the biggest out of all three of them. So it's that's what I'm really appreciative. Is like, okay, so even if it takes this long, you're starting to see like more and more of these developers be more comfortable putting these games out over here, and so it's crazy how gigantic that series is over in Japan, but it hasn't really gotten that big over. I mean, these games, because the Legend of Heroes series is was the first RPG. Like, that series is like the first RPG that ever was made. And so, like, something like that can exist and still hasn't really creeped in over here. But you're starting to see that, as you mentioned, like, the Steam sales for that game were huge. Like, they were always, like, in the top 10 and stuff like that. Every time that game's on sale on Steam, it's usually doing a huge amount. I mean, sometimes it's because it's so cheap, but also, like, it's an RPG that you don't see that much. And as you were talking about, more of these games are coming out over here on the PC, so you're going to see a lot more of those games. I mean, Agris War is going to be on the PC soon. It's going to be, like, in the middle of October that game's coming out.
Dude, that game is old, and it's also shit.
Well, regardless,
I do think...
Oh, God.
I think, just the PC release, that's an extremely smart move. I know the games, the Trails in the Skies games did have PC releases a long time ago in
that's when
Japan.
They first started as those, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know if this PC release is going to be exactly the same or slightly modified or whatnot.
I said there was going to be some additional content.
Well, basically, like, the PSP version had a couple of changes, not anything super significant, that the PC versions did not have. So people are wondering, are our PC versions going to be missing those couple of changes? Like, I think, like, voice acting in battle and a couple other things. So they made a comment like what they did with the Ys 1 and 2 plus they might be able to combine the.
Yeah, it's like because they're taking the original PC version and adding the PSP stuff to it.
I don't think
they're shoving that
officially. But
I think they just said that they kind of hinted it. Yeah.
But anyways, what I was going to say is that this PC release, in terms of the success of this release, this localization, I think PC gamers are a lot more willing to spend money if they can find something on sale to have a game to try it, rather than if it was just on PSP or even if they release a PS3 version. I think the PC marketplace, I think, is basically could be a very, very good.
And the good thing about it is that, of course,
brand for this release, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, and obviously, the good thing about it is that those games aren't graphically demanding. I mean, they could still look really good, but like they don't demand a lot of your resources, and so the good thing is a lot of people can play them on a lot of different platforms.
You don't need to have you don't need to be that master race PC gamer with a gigantic
yeah, your crappy system from like 5 or 6 years ago can play those games. So it's like and obviously a lot of people have PCs. Way more people have PCs than a PlayStation, like a PSP or a Vita. So it's like, of course, now that those are available, and $20 or whatever it's going to be, it's probably going to be $20. That it's going to be people can get into those games. So it's like that they can put both those games out on the PC as well as the handheld for those who want it. That that's exciting, and I appreciate that companies like those exist. And it does look like, because even Idea Factory, the people that we were talking about before who put out some of those RPGs, they're establishing their U.S. presence now. They're opening up a place in California. So it's now that the economy, at least for them, it's starting to kind of stabilize a little bit, that they're more comfortable coming over here and releasing their games. It's promising. And so, well, I think we've ran that conversation enough. So, with that, we'll, of course, bring this edition of the TetraCast to a close. I want to thank, of course, our special guest, Simon.
I'm a special guest?
And special guest.
My gosh.
I like to call all my guests special. You're special to me.
Okay, wow. No, don't roll that way.
Special.
Hey, special friend. This is special.
Whoa. I never said you were my friend.
In need. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Simon, you're very much in need.
Wow.
Hey, take this compliment. Of course, Adam, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, not a problem at all. It was fun to talk about this stuff.
David, I think David's gone, if I'm not mistaken.
I think David left partway through.
David, I leave a little bit ago, so I want to thank him, of course, for joining us. I really appreciate his input. And he'll of course be back next time. And our very new very much welcome new staff member Elizabeth. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a great time.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I'll talk more next time.
It's okay. Adam didn't talk that much this first time either.
Yeah, my first podcast, I pretty much just kind of listened to as well.
Yeah, we'll have things that maybe you'd be interested in talking about next time too. So October would be interesting. You're playing Disgaea, so we'll talk about it. So
we should thank Mad Cats.
Mad Cats, they provided us these neat little headsets that we got that have been working pretty well. So if you like the quality in these microphones that we're using, me, Simon, and David were using them.
Yeah,
so.
They're the Triton Kunai.
Kunai? Triton Kunai? Yeah. They're for PC and mobile stuff, so yeah.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Been working well.
Thank you, Mad Cats.
So, thank you very much, you guys. Really appreciated your contribution to the future of this podcast. And so, with that, once again, thank everyone for joining us, and catch us next time for the November 1st edition of the TetraCast.
You say that with weird voice, Zach. Peace.
Bye.